And speaking of who they're playing, we don't actually know because we're recording this on Monday before Game 7, Carolina, New York Rangers. This is literally just a series of two teams that only win at home. Canes haven't won on the road, and the Rangers only won once in Game 6 of Round 1. I've literally never seen two teams who are so good at home and maybe the opposite on the road. What are your kind of thoughts on this so far? And maybe let's not give a prediction because by the time this comes up, people are gonna know. But just what are your thoughts so far?
This has been the most peculiar series I have ever seen. I took Carolina to walk all over them because I didn't think that Carolina would continue their trend of losing on the road, but I did think they would continue the trend of winning at home.
Mm-hmm.
And man, was I wrong. But I know we've all heard this a million times, like you said, 7-0 in the playoffs at home and 0-6 on the road. It kind of blows my mind when you break this down because, when you look at that record, you go, oh, wow, like they must be starting their taxi squad when they're playing on the road.
Yeah.
But when you look into this advanced stats a little more, the Carolina Hurricanes are almost, except in a few small certain areas, playing even better on the road than they're playing at home. Their expected goals for is virtually the same. Their actual goals for is lower, obviously because they're losing games, but their expected goals expected is the same. Expected goals against is the same. The only difference is the goal saved above expected is abysmally worse on the road. And what does that tell me? That Antti Raanta isn't that great of a goalie when he's playing in Madison Square Gardens. Yeah. Like that they're generating the same chances. I don't know what it is about Antti Raanta when he plays on the road, but that seems to be the problem. That and the fact that there is a discrepancy in goals for and not expected goals for on the road, which tells me that Igor Shesterkin, when he plays in New York, finds a different level.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It sounds like both goalies are a lot more comfortable at home, especially Raanta.
Yeah,
because he's looked at times so good this postseason in general. He has it in him. Just it's weird on the road. Maybe there's a lack of confidence, there's lack of comfort. I don't know what it is.
It might just honestly be a lack of experience. But when you even look at the eye test, Carolina deserved to win every game in this series except Game 6. They got dummied in Game 6. They heavily outplayed the New York Rangers in the game that they lost by 1 goal. They just couldn't score because Igor Shesterkin is the best goalie in the league in the regular season right now. And they would come back on an odd man rush and score an extremely opportune goal. And the great example of that is the Kreider goal in Game 4 where they were getting dominated in their own end. Quick chip off the glass. Chris Kreider comes down, wraps around the net. Tony DeAngelo gets his stick ripped out of his hand by Mika Zibanejad, which should have been a penalty. Doesn't, play continues, and Chris Kreider scores a goal from the hash marks, like not the hash marks in the high danger area, the ones near the boards, over Antti Ranta's short side shoulder, and that ends up being the difference maker.
Yeah.
Right? They seem to be very similar to St. Louis, where they are okay with getting outpossessed the whole game, and then they score on an odd man rush.
Yeah, we've been saying it for a long time that New York is maybe not as good as they seem, and they get shelled defensively, and they're up. To give them credit, they can finish when they need to. But when you have Big Bad Igor in net, it can mask a lot of those sort of warts defensively. And hey, he's part of the team, so if he plays well and they win, that's nothing to hold against them per se. But it is something to take note of.
Yeah, and like you said, big bad Igor, goal saved above expected, plus 11.9, which is ridiculous. What's even more ridiculous? It's a little bit of a tangent, so we'll be quick. So do you know the only goalie better than him in the playoffs? Who that was?
Who?
Jake Ottinger. He played 1 less series, and he had a goal saved above expected at 15.
7 less games, 6 less games.
So
now.
he saved virtually 5 more goals above expected with playing 7 games less.
That's crazy.
Stood on his head. Jake Ottinger is going to be maybe one of the best goalies in the league pretty soon.
Seems that way.
I'm excited to see what he does.